So, welcome to another Centerviews Nation podcast. Here I am, Pat LaRusso, and I also have Lucas on with me. How's it going, Lucas?
It's going good, Pat. Just happy to be a Leaf fan.
I know. Pretty exciting times. The Leafs started off July 1st, Canada, with their own set of fireworks. What were your thoughts on the Tavares signing?
Well, that's a huge signing. That's a huge signing for the fans, not only just the team. I mean, when was the last time other than Matt Sundin and I guess Austin Matthews did the Leafs get someone this big, this well able to keep into the spotlight? Like it's unbelievable, Like John Tavares, he is an all-star. He is a great hockey player, and he is a Toronto Maple Leaf.
Crazy, crazy times in Toronto. Definitely the Shannon plan is definitely in full effect with this latest signing. I still remember watching John Tavares during his time with the Oshawa Generals, and you kind of saw something special. So it's kind of nice to see, the boy come back home and hopefully fulfill his childhood wish in bringing the Stanley Cup back to Toronto.
Absolutely. I mean, and he had a great season last year too, scoring 86 points, playing with Matt Barzal, who was outstanding of a player. And I mean, if he ends up playing with Marner this year, Marner is Barzal, if not better. So hoping for the best.
Yeah, no, things are starting to pick up. The lines are starting to take shape. The Leafs did suffer their own losses with Bozak signing in St. Louis and JVR returning back to Philly. But just having that Marner Tavares pairing should help recoup some of the goals lost. And even with the Tyler Ennis signing and with having Kapanen and Johnson up in the pipeline, the remaining goals, should be able to be, worked out because the Leafs did have a fairly explosive offensive team last season.
Yeah, you mentioned Tyler Ennis, and that is a great pickup for 650,000. I mean, you dump 2.5 million to pick up under a million there. Like Ennis has potential. His career high was 46 with Buffalo, and if he's on our fourth line, and let's say he even gets half of that, that's unbelievable for a guy you're paying 650,000 for.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of really smart decisions coming down the pipe. And with that said, we definitely have a very young and creative general manager in Kyle Dubas. So it'll be kind of interesting to see what he does with Johnson and Nylander's next contracts.
Yeah, I don't know how he's going to do this, but I mean, he seems to have faith. The organization has faith in him, and he said he's going to try and sign back the Big Four. And if he can do that, I'm all for it. I can't see Johnson getting too much. I mean, he played the back half of last season, and he did have a good playoff run with the Marlies. I wouldn't even be able to tell you what kind of a number he would get, but I personally thought they were going to bridge a Marner and Nylander type deal, try and sign them relatively close to the same amount of money. I don't know if they're going to be able to get that done this year, but they do have to sign Nylander by the end of the start of the season. So the clock's ticking, and I can't wait to see what he's going to
Yeah,
do.
when it relates to the Johnson and Nylander contract, Johnson's probably coming off a rookie contract. Really hasn't shown himself yet. We definitely seen flashes of brilliance and what his potential might be.
Yes.
Finding him at that $1 or $2 million spot. Coming off that rookie contract is probably possibly where they're going to go with that. Whereas with Nylander, kind of seeing that $6 or $7 million range. It'll be kind of interesting to see, if that's where he ends up falling. But I could see that $6 to $7 million range still leaving enough room to, keep Marner and Matthews under the fold. I don't, you know what? We're still looking at the whole cap situation with what it is this year, and the cap seems to be going up every couple, again this year. So who knows where the cap's going to be at the end of, the start of next season. So I'm not too concerned about contracts, and even if it means sacrificing possibly trading, Marleau on his last year of his contract to free up some extra funds. I'm sure that there is a long-term plan, set in motion to
Yeah.
keep at least the big three, plus Tavares for the next 7 years.
No, absolutely. I mean, like you mentioned that you trade Marlowe. Is it that big of a loss? I mean, he's already old. I mean, yeah, he scored 20 something goals for us last year. That was an unbelievable season. I'm sure he bursted everyone's expectations. I know I wasn't expecting that type of point contribution, but the depth of the Marlies. I mean, you get rid of Marlowe, someone's ready to take that spot, and I think they've done a great job at developing that AHL team, and they're going to be like the Penguins for the next couple of years. That bottom six is going to be unknown but good, and that's what I like to see.
Yeah, no, most definitely, most definitely. And I guess the fans and the media, seem to have their eyes set on, what the Leafs are going to do with their defense. A couple names have been bandying about, Dan Hamhuis as a veteran, to close out the bottom two, to as like a Jared Sturgeon or even a Justin Falk might be available in the right trade. What are your thoughts on, one of those acquisitions to kind of just, round out that Leafs defense, which was, appeared at times to be very porous, especially in the playoffs against Boston?
Yeah, I like all three. I think the most scary thing for Justin Falk was that he was a minus 26 last year. And I mean, I'm not a big numbers guy, but that is scary to see, especially when you have a suspect defensive core. I like Jared Spurgeon the best. I'd say, he's a right-handed shot and he's a good defenseman. He was only a minus 6 last year and he put up 37 points, and that's nice to see. The cap hit can't be too much, and if it comes via trade or at least a decent contract, I'm all in for him. Dan Hamhuis is a little old for me. I mean, we do have Ron Hainsey, and I don't want to see it get any older than that in a very fast-paced, young NHL-style hockey. But if it comes, it comes, and if it cleans up the bottom 4D, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, and you know what too? I think the Leafs are just potentially just buying their time for the likes of Liljegren to come up through the system. Definitely Timothy's probably
Yeah,
with the Marlies at
for
least
sure.
for one more season, and then two, that's where they might get that cap savings next year as well. Maybe they can say goodbye to Jake Gardiner and his 4 point whatever million dollar contract, and easily place Liljegren in. Coming in with his rookie contract in that 3-4 spot, and kind of build out the defense from there. So there is some cap flexibility when it does, for next season if the Leafs do decide, to walk away from, the Marlows and the Gardners, and really continue to build, from the Marlies up. And maybe that's where they're thinking, defenseman wise. But from my perspective, they do need to pick up at least another, maybe like a 5-6 defense. They really, secure that
Yeah.
bottom two, and give Dermott the best opportunity to succeed this year. Because he is going to be coming into his rookie year, and having that veteran to help him along, would be key to his success. Just like Hainsey did with Morgan Riley last year.
Oh, Hainsey did a great job with Morgan Riley. Morgan Riley played out of his mind last year. It was fun to watch. It was rewarding almost. It's like, you know what, we drafted him and we took him under our wing, and the Leafs finally produced a really good defenseman. And not to say, obviously, he's got some defensive issues and he's a little bit of a liability still, but that'll come. That'll come, and that's exciting to see. So you're right. If we can get another defenseman that can help shape Dermott, that'd be even better. But if Zaitsev can play like he did the first season he came with the Leafs, I mean, the decor isn't that bad. I would like to see if a 5-6 defenseman come in, but if we can't make a big splash and get our 2-3 cleaned up, I'm okay with Zaitsev, Hainsey, and Riley.
Yeah, most definitely. No, Zaitsev, did come back from an injury. Once he came back from that foot injury, he did seem to be, off a step or two. Didn't seem to have that same step that he had. And in his rookie season, everyone was, praising him for his efforts. And I don't see a player regressing that much from one year to the next. So who knows how much his injuries played into how the season wrapped up for him. So I do expect a big year from Zaitsev. And you know what? If the rumors are true and he does fall back again this year, maybe a return back to the KHL for Zaitsev, and the Leafs can clear off even some more cap space, just getting rid of that contract as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world either. It is a big contract, and there are players to replace him if need be. I hope for the best out of him. I mean, I liked him when he was first here. You're right, he did come off an injury, so that had a big part to play. But I'm hoping his third season in is just as good as his first.
Yeah, no, definitely. A few players will need to have some bounce back years, especially on defense. And even it's funny enough that people seem to ride Jake Gardiner, and they have since the Game 7 against Boston. But when you look at his plus minus throughout the year, he's always been a plus player. Yeah, he hasn't had to eat up many large minutes against the other teams top players, but he does with the right partner, maybe we can revive Jake's Gardner career, and maybe make it worth the Leafs' while to re-sign him long term.
I mean, I'm a little biased. I was kind of the one who strongly disliked Jake Gardiner, and I'm just interested to see who you think his perfect partner would be. I mean, they played him with a stay-at-home defenseman. They played him with a puck-moving defenseman, and the mistakes just still happened. And I know he has got a lot of offensive upside, and he is a good hockey player. I just don't know if he's a good defenseman. And it's frustrating when, again, like I said, the D is suspect. I mean, I hope for the best. I want the best for him and the Maple Leafs. But they're going to have a lot of work cut out for them to try and fix his defensive issues.
Oh, yeah, no, most definitely. He's definitely still, a work in progress, even after, being in the league so long. What I've come to this conclusion, and I've heard a lot of people say, and I've kind of, softened on what my thoughts were of him since the series against Boston was, when the game is fast and he doesn't have to overthink things, you kind of see that glimmer of, of what he can potentially be. But it just seems that at times when the game seems to slow down, he does seem to, make some stupid decisions and some silly decisions that come back and burn him and the team. So, maybe giving him that partner where it can allow him to just focus on his, on his game and not have to maybe worry so much about the defensive side of the puck. That might be where, Jake Gardiner begins to really start showing, what we everyone seemed to believe Jake Gardiner was.
No, I agree. You better hope they find that real good stay home
That
defense.
yeah, that's been the hope the last couple of years, and Zaitsev kind of offered that until up until his injury. So maybe
Yeah.
finding some comfort and some familiarity, coming into upcoming season with Zaitsev again. Maybe even this summer to help Zaitsev along and get out all those kinks from any lingering injuries, and who knows, maybe they both find their careers again this year. Both have contracts potentially on the line, so maybe that might be the incentive that they need to really buckle down and really take that next step.
I hope so, because if that's the case with John Tavares signing, I mean, this team could be scary. There's a lot of potential.
There is a lot of potential when you look at those lineups, and it was funny. I was just going over some of the potential lines, and I thought, just looking at even who could be on the fourth line, and at this point, it doesn't even matter who's on the fourth line. The Leafs could just sell tickets to fans and hope that and pick 3 winners and throw 3 fans on the ice for the 5-10 minutes that fourth line's going to be playing, because it's not going to be much with having such a deep team on the first 3 lines.
No, but how can you? How can you say, all right, fourth line, third line, get out there when you have guys like Matthews, Marner, and Tavares, and then Nylander just sitting there waiting for their number, and then you have Kadri. He's a 30-goal scorer. Let's not forget about Nazem Kadri, just sitting there waiting for his number to be called at all times.
Yeah, it's going to be a matchup nightmare for opposing teams this year, because who do you throw on when Matthews is on the ice, and then that Tavares or Kadri's line's coming back over the boards. Like it's just gonna be one of those years where it'll definitely be fun, to be a Leafs fan and kind of see where this team goes. And for finally, after how many years, we can honestly say that we do have a smart management group that seems to be getting it and seems to be seeing things and fixing things and being proactive and kind of thinking outside of the box and really making proper hockey decisions as opposed to money decisions or just making the playoffs, where I think now there is the eye on the larger prize. And I'm happy to see that the Shannon plan has worked right up until this point.
Yeah, I trust them fully. I said it in the last podcast too. I trust them. I trust the organization. I trust who's making the calls right now, because they haven't let me down and they've made all the right moves. And I hope for the best again, and I hope they continue this trend.
Well, you know what? This has been a great podcast, Lucas. I will definitely be doing this again. And for everyone that's still listening to Standardization Podcast, definitely check out the YouTube channel that we just launched. All our podcasts can now be found on most podcast channels and services, so check us out. Thanks again, Lucas.
Thanks, Take care, bye.